Give the praise team a round of applause for that wonderful praise session. We will now hear from our speaker of the day what Yahweh has laid on his heart to speak to us. And that person is none other than Brother Damani Wade. Welcome him, please.
Shabbat Shalom. I trust that we are all ready. I promised you an interesting one today. So, no sleeping, right? Because we have a lot of ground to cover, a lot of history to go through. You know, while preparing this series of presentation, reading many books, many articles, watching countless videos, trying to piece this puzzle together, I realized it to be more true than ever. When I was growing, I would always hear the Rasta men say, history is his story. And for every argument in history, you can find a counter argument on both sides proclaiming their theory or their proposal to be the truth, right? And so all that will be presented today, each person will have to decide which side of history you're going to believe, the one that you were taught in schools, or this side that was never presented to you before. So last week we would have learned that Father Abraham had many sons, right? Father Abraham was not a white man, correct? Based on geography, based on biology, and all the Ajis and Afis and all the highfalutin terms of studies, we would have established that Father Abraham was an Aramean whose land of origin was between the Tigris and the Euphrates River, a place called Aram Naharaim, Naharaim being Aram between the rivers, right? I would have shown you also, well, I would have hinted also that Job from our Bible was from also that same region. Uts. Thank you. So, Father Abraham had many sons. We know it go. Ishmael and Isaac had about 6 after Sarah died. So, Isaac was chosen for the promise. Isaac went on to have Esau and Jacob. Jacob was chosen again for the covenant, the promise. Jacob had 12 sons. Those 12 sons, Jacob's name was changed to Israel. The 12 sons became the 12 tribes of Israel. Israel was told that they are to be a nation, a light to the world. They are to uphold a certain set of laws. And if they do the laws, then Yahweh will make them the head, not the tail. They will lend, they will not borrow. They will be blessed in their body and in the field and in all areas. Not blessed, but barak. They will be exalted in the body and exalted in the field. And they will be fruitful all around, right? But if you do not, then the opposite. And we saw that the opposite was very long. Quite long a sentence, quite long a proclamation, quite long a chastisement. If it is that you go awry, you are told that you are to have one Elohim, and he will be the ruler over you, and that he will use you to rectify what was destroyed at creation, right? But we know the story go. Israel decided that they wanted kings. They don't want to be ruled by a deity, a supreme being Yahuwah. They wanted kings. So Yahuwah said, take your king. But your king is going to do thus and thus and thus to you. Israel, as the 12 tribes, was ruled by only 3 kings. King Shaul being the first king of Israel, King David being the second, and David's son, King Shlomo, or as we know him, Solomon, the third. Solomon had many wives. He had an affinity for women. And so he got turned from Yah. The woman turned his heart away from Yahuwah. In punishing Solomon for turning, Yahuwah made a proclamation that because of my servant David, I will not completely tear the kingdom away from you, but I am going to break the kingdom in half, in two, not half, in two. We saw that split come with Jeroboam and Rehoboam. 10 tribes in the north became one kingdom by themselves, and 9.5 tribes in the north and 2.5 tribes in the south. And it became the 9.5 at the top became known as Israel, and the 2.5 south became known as Judah. Oftentimes we spend searching for the last two because it's easier to trace, because they went into exile a closer period to where we are now. So most time we spend our time tracing the 2 southern tribes, 2.5 southern tribes, Judah, Benjamin, and half of Levi. We saw the 9.5 going into Assyrian exile in 2 Kings. We're going to look at it now. And they became known now as the lost tribes of Israel. Many stories going around the world where they are today. Some people say that they are no more. We know that that cannot be true because we see in the prophet Ezekiel that Yahuwah restored Israel. The 2 kingdoms came back together and Israel was restored. We see in Revelation, we see in Ezekiel as well that the 12 gates of the kingdom bear the 12 tribes. So you cannot enter Yahuwah's kingdom unless you walk through a tribe. So we know that they are here in the world today, and if they were not here, then Yahuwah could not gather them, right? So they are here. The question is where? So that is our prerogative today. Where is the 9.5 tribes, which is now known as the lost tribes? Because remember, those who are in Israel now claim to be the 2.5, right? They claim to be the 2.5 tribe. We'll deal with that in weeks to come. Not now. For now, we're focusing on the 9.5 who went into exile first. So we pick it up in 2 Kings 17. Verse 1. In the 12th year of Ahaz, king of Yehuda, Hoshea the son of Elah began to reign, to rule over Israel in Samaria for 9 years. And he did evil in the eyes of Yahuwah, but not as the kings of Israel who were before him. Shalmaneser now, the Assyrian king, came up against him, and Hoshea became his servant. So him lose, right? So Israel lose against Shalmaneser, the Assyrian king. And I want everybody to pay attention because we go to school. They teach us about Christopher Columbus trying to tell us who we are. And we learn bare foolishness. So we need children to be listening. We need youths to be listening. And we need adults to be listening and elderly to be listening. So they lost. They became servant and rendered him a present. But the king of Assyria found a conspiracy in Hoshea, for he had sent messengers to So, king of Egypt, and had not brought a present to the king of Assyria, as year by year. So he not pay up the money. And the king of Assyria shut him up and bound him in prison. And the king of Assyria went through all the land and went up to Samaria and laid siege on Samaria, which is the northern 9.5. Laid siege on Israel, Samaria being the capital of that territory, for 3 years. Okay? In the 9th year of Hoshea, the king of Assyria captured Samaria, being Israel, the 9.5 tribes, and exiled Israel. You know what exile means? exodus, move them out, take them out of the land that they were promised. So they were exiled from Israel to Assyria, right? And they settled them in Hala and Habor, the river of Gozan, and in the cities of the Medes. Now this came to be because the children of Israel had sinned against Yahuwah, their Elohim, who had brought them up out of the land of Egypt from under the hand of Pharaoh, the king of Egypt, and feared other gods, mighty ones, and walked in the laws. So look what Israel was guilty of. Why they were exiled, taken out of the land. They did not fear Yahuwah, who had brought them out of the land. So they sinned against him. They did not walk in the law. They walked in the laws of the nations whom Yahuwah had dispossessed from before the children of Israel, and of the kings of Israel that they had made. So then pick up other people's laws, forsaking their own and taking up other people's laws. And when we say laws, we mean Torah, we mean instruction. We are talking about culture. We are brought up in a world now where they tell you that it's not good for you to be ethnocentric. Ethnocentric means when you believe that your culture is superior to another's. They say that we should be inclusive. So I take a piece of your culture, you take a piece of mine, and then we go over to Germany and we take a piece of the German's culture. It is not to be so for Israel. You do not mix culture. Your culture is your culture. So if you wear headband and you wear turban, you wear your turban. And if you go to Rome and Rome tell you say to trim and to not cover your hair, then what you do? You wear your turban and you don't go to Rome. You do not mix your culture. That is what Israel was guilty of while they were exiled, while they were taken out of the land. So let us look at something that is called now the Native American theory, because Columbus is said to have founded the New World, so to speak. But when he came, he found people, right? So something not right. That means that somebody find it before him. Something wrong. Father, give me the strength. I have running belly, so take time with me there. The Native American theory. Look at this. The theory was discussed by Spanish writers in the 16th century, including Diego de Landa in his Relación de las Cosas de Yucatán. The relation of things of the Yucatan. Yes, man. But pan Spanish, you know, I never know. Written around 1566, and Diego Duran's History of the Indies of New Spain, 1581. The first work to address the theory systematically came in 1607. The Origin of the Indians of the New World by Dominican Gregorio Garcia. Watch this now. Garcia argued based on supposed similarities in appearance, custom, including idolatry. You love to follow people and them gods. You like to take up people's culture. You like to mix and mingle with dirty bungle. And language. So the similarities are in custom, that means traditions, including idolatry. The appearance, that means how you dress, how you look, your skin color, all of these things. And the language, including the frequency of glottals, that the lost tribes of Israel traveled to the Americas alongside other migrations, including of Carthaginians, Phoenicians, and people from China, Tartary, and Atlantis. The book also makes etymological arguments. For example, Garcia asserted, watch this now, Garcia claims that Mex in Mexico was based on the Hebrew term Messiah. Garcia argued that circumcision was common among indigenous peoples of the Americas, particularly in the Yucatan. What did Jubilee say? If I don't see the cut in your willy willy, there is no sign on you that you belong to who? To Yahuwah. So how do you identify an Israelite? One way to identify an Israelite. Circumcision, okay? Thank you very much, all right? Particularly in the Yucatan. Garcia suggested that the lost tribes must have reached the Americas from Eastern Asia. I'm going to show you some things today. Via what is now called the Bering Strait. Remember that? Bering Strait. In contrast, The French Archbishop Gilbert Genobard argued in 1587 that they traveled via Greenland. Diego Andres Roca also argued for the idea in Tratado Único y Singular del Origen de los Indios, 1687, with claims including that a broken Hebrew is spoken in Cuba and Jamaica. With claims, he argued that the Spanish first populated the Americas shortly after the flood, with the lost tribes coming much later via the Bering Strait. Hi, boy. In 1650, according to Jerusalem Post, Rabbi Menashe ben Israel, chief rabbi of Amsterdam, recorded in his book Mikveh Yisrael a conversation that he had, watch this now, with a Jewish Dutch explorer of the Americas. So a man come over here, come explore. Menashe ben Israel is talking to this gentleman now. The explorer then told him how he made contact with the Native Americans. But after trying to communicate with them in every possible language, European, Indian, everything, he had no success. Both he and his first mate, being Jews, they began to talk among themselves. So him and him brethren there, I said, boy, people don't understand we, no brother. To his utter amazement, upon hearing them speak Hebrew, the Native American chief, the chief from the place where them go now, come and say, Shema Israel, Baruch Adonai. That is a very popular prayer found in the Bible. Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one. That is what he heard the Native Americans said, because they heard the two of them speaking in Hebrew. And said, but wait. Shema Israel, hear, O Israel. Where you taught these things in school? I'm not going to teach you. So, down the rabbit hole I take you with me, because me not go down there alone. Do I have your attention now? Yes, sir. Does it sound interesting now? Yes, income thief in Columbus. So Columbus now, watch this now, you know. Columbus was a deeply religious and reflective man, as well as distinguished seaman. And being largely self-taught, he had a reverence for learning, perhaps especially the learning of his most influential Spanish supporters. A striking manifestation of his sensibilities is the Book of Prophecies, a collection of pronouncements largely taken from the Bible and seeming to bear directly on his role in the Western voyages. So Columbus reading prophecies and make him own book, call it the Book of Prophecies. Compile a book. And if we know anything about prophecies, what does prophecy tell you about? Israel, no sir? All prophecies point to who? Israel. So Columbus is studying what? Israel. Lovely, but they won't tell you that. But we have sense, we know Bible. The book was probably compiled by Columbus and his friend, the Carthusian friar Gaspar Goricio, between 1501 and March 1502, with additions until circa 1505. Watch this. Columbus also read the seer Salathiel Ezra in the books of Esdras from the Apocrypha, especially 2 Esdras 6 verse 42. So in a Sefer, there's a book called 4 Ezra, or 2 Esdras as it is known, that the Catholic Church removed. And they were very wise to remove it, because they needed to keep you as slaves. Columbus was reading that book, in which the prophet states that the earth is 6 parts land to 1 of water, thus reinforcing these ideas of the proportion of land to sea crossing. And it said the mistake was further compounded by his idiosyncratic view of the length of a degree of geographic latitude. So history will tell you that Columbus sought to sail to Asia, but he made a wrong turn. Madness. Columbus was reading the Bible, reading the prophecies, and he was reading 2 Esdras, and I'm going to show you. If he was reading chapter 6, then he read chapter 13 as well, no sir? And I'm going to show you something in chapter 13. Columbus knew what he was looking for. He knew whom he was looking for and why he was looking for them. Next person we're looking at now, Luis de la Torres, was Christopher Columbus's interpreter on the first voyage to America. De Torres was a converso, a Jewish person who was forced to convert to Christianity or be put to death according to the Spanish Inquisition. Apparently born Joseph ben Halevi Halvri in Huelva, Spain. De Torres was chosen by Columbus for his knowledge of Hebrew, Chaldaic, and Arabic. Columbus planned to sail to America and him go to get an interpreter, and what language him said the man must speak. Hebrew, Chaldaic, which Ur of the Chaldees is where Abraham is from, sir? Okay. And Arabic. After arriving to Cuba, which is supposed to be the Asian coast, Columbus sent de Torres and the sailor Rodrigo de Jerez on an expedition inland on November 2, 1492. Their task was to explore the country, contact its ruler, and gather information about the Asian emperor described by Marco Polo as the Great Khan Madness. The two men were received with great honors in a village and returned 4 days later, and they reported on the native custom of drying leaves, inserting the leaves into cane pipes, and burning them and inhaling the smoke. So the man them go at the people them place and the people them light a big spliff and give them and tell them, so come we smoke and rejoice. What does that sound like to you, sir? Sound familiar, don't? Light up a spliff. And the dance sound familiar, don't? Light up a spliff, make a roll up a spliff. Because some new man coming at the place. Next person we're looking at, Bartholomew de las Casas. Born 1474 or 84, Sevilla, Spain. Died July 1566, was an early Spanish historian and Dominican missionary who was the first to expose the oppression of indigenous peoples by the Europeans in the Americas and to call for the abolition of slavery there. His several works include Historia de las Indias, first printed in 1875. He was a prolific writer and in his later years an influential figure in the Spanish court. Las Casas nonetheless failed to stay the progressive enslavement of the indigenous peoples of Latin America. So him try to save the slaves, never worked. Lengthy story, we don't need to go through his story. Las Casas' first encounter with indigenous people happened before he even sailed to America. In Historia General de las Indias, he wrote of Christopher Columbus' return to Seville after the first voyage. Christopher Columbus go back to Spain, and Christopher Columbus had an Indian with him. So he meet Indian before him even come to this side of the world, they're saying. But they're calling them Indian. You know, they give you a name. They put you down African, them call you Africans. Las Casas recorded having seen 7 Indians in the entourage of Christopher Columbus being exhibited in the vicinity of the Iglesias de San Nicolas de Bari, along with beautiful green parrots, vibrant in color and indigenous artifacts. So him come with the people, them carry them parrot with them and everything. And them frightened to go with him because from ever since we love likes. Enough. Pedro de las Casas now, this is the father of this man, Bartholomew de las Casas. Left in Christopher Columbus' second expedition, and upon his return in 1499, Pedro de las Casas brought to his son a young Amerindian. He later wrote, I saw here on a scale, cruelty on a scale no living being has ever seen or expects to see. So after him finally make his own voyage to the Caribbean, to the Americas, as they call it, because you know the Caribbean is a part of Central America. Then you have South America with Brazil, Peru, Argentina, Colombia, all of these places. And then you have North America with Alaska, Canada, Mexico, United States. All of it is called Americas. So he came and he said, the wickedness when I see them do to the people, them, me never see it nowhere yet in the world. This is before our time, you know, when we get transferred on ship. All right. In 1514, Las Casas was studying a passage in the book Ecclesiasticus. 34:18 to 22 for a Pentecost sermon and pondering its meaning. Las Casas was finally convinced that all the actions of the Spanish in the New World had been illegal because him seat in Syrac, Ecclesiasticus, and that they constituted a great injustice. And so he made up his mind to do something about it. And see it here? Ecclesiasticus 34. He that sacrifices of a thing wrongfully gotten, so you never get it by justifiable means. The book says his offering is ridiculous. So he's thinking about it and say, all these riches that we have here, that we are enjoying, we're taking it from these people. It's injustice. And the gifts of unjust men are not accepted. The Most High is not pleased with the offerings of the wicked. Neither is he pacified for sin by the multitude of sacrifices. So in other ways, you can't buy righteousness. Whosoever brings an offering of the goods of the poor does as one that kills the son before his father's eyes. So if you take from the poor and come and offer it to Yahuwah, Ecclesiasticus is telling you that you're coming like the man who killed the son before his father. So the man is reading this thing and it prick him in his conscience, prick him in his heart. And him said, no, but this is what we are doing to these people. So him say, I have to go back to Spain and do something about it. So when the man go back to Spain, look what him do. He suggested a plan where the encomienda would be abolished and Indians would be congregated into self-governing townships to become tribute-paying vassals of the king. So just make them run them one thing, but make them give a local tax. He still suggested that they lost because the man them say, all right, fine. But when we give you these slaves and them go do them thing now, who do the work? Look what the man suggests. The man suggests that they could be replaced by allowing the importation of African slaves. And the man is going to stop slavery in a brethren. I say, all right, nobody slave the Indian, them, slave the blacks. Or the African, or whatever you want to call them. But them not realize you're the same people them are slave. Anyways, it was in the history of the Indies that Las Casas finally regretted what he did. And he wrote, I soon repented and judged myself guilty of ignorance. And I came to realize that black slavery was as unjust as Indian slavery. And I was not sure that my ignorance and good faith would secure me in the eyes of God. Man said, me not think, say, me can redeem. So he is the reason why the first 4,000 African slaves was transported to where? Look which part of them transported. The first 4,000 slaves. Look which part of them carry them, bro. Jamaica. Jam down. In the early 16th century now, watch this, because we're not finished with him yet. Him going with all the things. Bartholomew de las Casas became the champion of the Native American Indians, devoting his lifetime to improving the conditions in the West Indies, Peru, and Guatemala. Las Casas wrote, these Indians can bring, watch this now, these Indians can bring near the redemption. How? If we treat them humanly in this world and convert them to Christianity, that no work, brethren. You don't understand how this thing here works. We are preparing for the redemption of the Western world in the Messianic era. Why? What is in the West that it needs to be redeemed when the Messiah comes? When the Messiah comes, what did the book say he's going to do? Gather who? Israel. So if the man is saying that the Indians are going to be redeemed in the Messianic something, well, what is he saying? Watch this. Their conversion is apt indeed. This is important. As I am convinced the Indians originate in ancient Israel. And indeed, I can bring proofs from the Bible that they are the lost tribes. And no me say it. Go and go do your research. Not me say it. You think when you come on ship was the first time? Next man, Antonio de Montesinos. Also known as Aharon, Levi. You notice that when these people take up our faith, them change them name, and we don't want to change for we name, and it's filled with faith. Aharon, Levi, the man before name Menashe ben Israel. Menashe, the son of Israel. Okay. Him called for himself Aaron and Levi. He was a Portuguese traveler and a Marano Sephardic Jew. Sephardic meaning come from Spain. And him believe in Judaism. Who in 1644 persuaded Manasseh. See, man, come back here again now. So them two, you buck up now, you know. Remember, we just look at Manasseh ben Israel, you know. These two buck up now. Persuaded Manasseh ben Israel, a rabbi of Amsterdam, that he had found one of the 10 lost tribes of Israel living in the jungles of Quito province in Ecuador. Mighty God. This supposed discovery gave a new impulse to Manasseh's messianic hopes. Manasseh wrote a book about this narrative, The Hope of Israel. In it, Manasseh argued and tried to give learned support to the theory that the native inhabitants of America at the time of the European discovery were actually descendants of the lost 10 tribes of Israel. Them ever tell you about them book here yet? You hear how much book we hear about so far? You ever see one of these books before? No. You ever heard one of these names other than Christopher Columbus before? No. But they want to teach you your history. Montesinos, on a trip to South America during 1641, discovered a group of natives in Ecuador who could recite the Shema, the same thing. Come and have the same experience. And were acquainted with other Jewish rituals. He brought this news to Amsterdam in 1644, and the congregational authorities, Manasseh ben Israel being among them, had him repeat his account under oath. So then Karen Bible come and tell him and say, put your hand on the Bible and hold it up in your ear and swear say I tell the truth. And he did. The assumption was that these natives were a remnant of the 10 lost tribes of Israel, of the tribes of Reuben and Levi. According to Montesinos, he then left for Brazil where he died, reasserting on his deathbed while dying. The man said, me not tell no lie. Find Israel in the Americas. The report by Portuguese traveler Antonio Montesinos some 120 years later now, aroused remarkable interest. It was a thrilling journey I took in South America. Now that I am back in Amsterdam, I must share with you some incredible news. There is a Jewish Indian tribe living beyond the mountain passes of the Andes. Indeed, I myself heard them recite Shema Yisrael, Baruch Adonai, Echad, the expression of the Jewish faith, and saw them observe the Jewish rituals. Fact or fiction? Coincidence? No incidents, me like learning. Manasseh ben Israel. Manuel Diaz Sorera, better known by his Hebrew name Manasseh ben Israel, also known with the Hebrew acronym MBY or MBI, was a Jewish scholar, rabbi, Kabbalist, writer, diplomat, printer, publisher, founder of the first Hebrew printing press, named Emeth Meretz Titzma in Amsterdam in 1626. There's not a pian man, this bridge. In 1644, Manasseh met Antonio de Montesinos, the Portuguese traveler, and he told him what he saw. See that already. His book, The Hope of Israel, was first published in Amsterdam in Latin and in Spanish. The book was written in a response to a 1648 letter from John Dewey inquiring about Montesinos' claims, because people want to know, what is this that I'm hearing that Israel is in that part of the world? Because everybody who read the Bible know that the restoration of the world comes from the gathering of Israel. Everybody know this, brethren. So these men were saying that we need to find them and bring them back, because bringing them back, we fast track this thing. That was their plan, you know. These men were asking, you know, but must man work like that? And Yahweh has him on timeline. So in addition to reporting Montezino's accounts of Jews in the Americas, the book also expressed the hope that the Jews would return to England as a way of hastening the coming of the Messiah. Manasseh also stresses his kinship with Parliament and explains himself as driven by amity for England rather than financial gain. Among those to whom Montezino gave his affidavit was Manasseh ben Israel, then Rabbi of Amsterdam, who fully accepted the story and to it devoted his Hope of Israel book, which he dedicated to the English Parliament in section 37. He sums up his findings in the following words. Here's what he said. That the West Indians were anciently inhabited by a part, the West Indies, were anciently inhabited by a part of the 10 tribes which passed there out of Tartary by the Strait of Anian. First we hear about the Bering Strait, now we hear about the Strait of Anian. What is happening? Look at the Anian Strait. The Strait of Anian was a semi-mythical strait documented from around 1560 that was believed by early modern cartographers. Cartographers are people who draw maps to mark the boundary between North America and Asia and to permit access to a northwest passage from the Arctic Ocean to the Pacific. The true strait was discovered in 1728 and became known as Bering Strait. Same thing. The Strait of Anian had been generally placed nearby, but sometimes appeared as far south as California. So this is America, and over here is Asia. See how them close? Something not right. I'll soon show you. But wait, one more person. Thomas Thorogood was a Puritan minister and preacher in Kingsley, Norfolk, England. He was the first English author to argue in 1650 that American Indians were descended from the last 10 tribes of the biblical ancient Israelites. So the centuries coming by, somebody else do them research and realize that no, sir, something not right. And come with something and so them snuff them out. So them come with something, then snuff them out. Snuff them out, and the next man come and then snuff him out. And next one rise, then snuff him out. So that's why I'm showing you all of them so you can go do your research. Then come now, James Adair, who was a native of the county Antrim in Ireland, who went to North America and became a trader with the Native Americans of the southeastern woodlands. In 1775, different centuries now, stimulated by the encouragement of a few of his intimate friends such as Sir William Johnson, 1st Baronet, Colonel George Croghan, George Galfin, and Lachlan McGilvray, Adair compiled his notes into the form of a book. So them encouraging because him keep telling them things and them say, Virgin, write a book. We have a lot of information. So he mentions a string of disadvantages under which he labored, notably the jealousy, secrecy, and closeness of the natives. But he hoped to be able to correct the very superficial notions that prevailed as to their civilization. Because people say them primitive, them not no sense. That we hear, don't, right? When we were taught that, when we were brought here, when the Spanish came, they said that they came and they found Tainos in Jamaica. No, so in other places, they found Arawak and all of these type of Indian people. And they said that they were primitive. Them never have no sense. Madness. The fact that them live on one part of the world where you not even didn't know it exists means that them have sense. Because we know that civilization, humanity began in Africa based on the Bible itself, based on science that has been proven that humanity originated in Africa. So that means that people travel from there to reach over there, no so? Okay. The value of Adair's work as showing the relations between the natives and the English traders was recognized, and a German translation appeared at Breslau in 1782. Here where this man going to say about the man now, the person who write this article. It must, them say, the value of his work, showing the something there was recognized. So they are saying, part of the sentence is telling you that the man's work was good. So the value of his work was recognized. People recognize his work as good writing, proper source material, good information, credible source. But here how them follow up now. It can't be one and the other in a bridging. It's either one or the other, and it can't be the two of them. You know. Here we go say now. But it must be admitted that a very disproportionate, that means that too much space is given to the hypothesis that the Native Americans are descended from the last 10 tribes of Israel. So you can't, in a one part of your argument, say the man work good and then say now one next part say it no good. It's either good or it no good, brethren. You flip-flop. So, anyways, watch this now because this gets serious now. James Adair get popular now. People in America start to ask questions. I am showing you now letters that I found on the internet between two American presidents. Because back then in those days, man, no have phone and WhatsApp. So man, I send letter and you're going to notice the dates. John Adams is the second president of the United States of America and Thomas Jefferson is the third president. So a former president and the current president are corresponding about James Adair and his book and the Native Americans. So if this thing here wasn't so credible, oh, you end up have two American presidents to discuss this thing here. Watch this. February 10, 1812. This is John Adams, the second president now, speaking to the third president, sending letter. Although you and I are weary of politics, you may be surprised to find me making a transition to such a subject as prophecies. I find that Virginia produces prophecies. That's a state in America. So I say, yeah, but look a part down here and I realize, say, a whole heap of prophet that come from there. So I keep him Virginia up to date, you know. Virginia produces prophets, as well as the Indiana territory. There have been lately sent me from Richmond 2 volumes. So I received 2 things. One written by Nimrod Hughes and the other by Christopher McPherson. Both upon prophecies and neither ill-written. So he's saying that both things are written upon prophecies and neither ill-written. So he must say it right good. Them sound like them sensible. Them no sound dunce. Grammar, proper. Diction, correct. Content. Watch this. I should apprehend that 2 such mulattoes. You know what is a mulatto? Neither black nor white. See it? I tell you, no, pay attention, you know, this is 2 American presidents speaking. 2 such mulattoes might raise the devil amongst who? The Negroes. Remember that Negroes aren't black people, you know. Because some of the encyclopedia tell us that already, no, so Brother Stewart. That the Negroes descend from Shem and not Ham. The Negroes are not black people. So the man said these 2 mulattoes with them prophecies might raise up the devil in these Negroes. We can't afford that. I think these prophecies are not only unphilosophical. This sound like CJ, man. And inconsistent with the political safety of states and nations. Cannot happen in this dispensation, Brady. Pardon this strange vagary. I want only to know something more than I do about the Richmond and Wabash prophets. Say, I ask him about them. I tell him about 2 prophets where him get 2 things from, but him I ask him now, say, me hear about Richmond prophet and Wabash prophet. Me I beg you, please give me a look so span them. A long time see I heard about, you know, Virgin. Long time, you know. And he said, in the letter, he said, call to company and to dinner. I have only time to repeat the assurances of the friendship and respect of John Adams. So him say, my wife a call me and my pitney them a call me if you go eat food. So little more me talk to you, my boss. Letter take long for each because it's long time days. Here is the response, April 20, 2 months later. Thomas Jefferson responding now. You wish to know something of the Richmond and Wabash prophets. Okay. Of Nimrod Hughes. This is one of them, you know. Him call the name. He say, of Nimrod Hughes, I have never heard before. Never hear about him before. But Christopher McPherson, I have known for 20 years. He's a man of color. Not a black man, a man of color. See, man? Brought up as a bookkeeper by a merchant, his master, and afterwards enfranchised. He had understanding. Watch this now. Watch this now. He had understanding enough to post up his ledger from his journal. So him sensible enough to do him ledger and him journal. That is accounting, you know. But not enough to bear up against hypochondriac affections and the gloomy forebodings they inspire him trying to discredit the man now in a brethren. Him say him sensible enough to be an accountant. But no past that. No past that. He became crazy. And this is what they call, you know, when you start to realize who you are. When a man start to realize who he is, them say you're mad. So he became crazy, foggy. His head always in the clouds. He's been rhapsodizing what neither himself nor anyone else could understand. Macpherson was too honest to be molested by anybody and too inoffensive to be subject for the madhouse. So he must say, he's not a man who go around and trouble people, so we can't really say we are put him in the madhouse. So he must operate right in between and look a safe spot. He said the Wabash prophet now, different story with this one now, because this one is an Indian now, you know. The Wabash prophet is a very different character. He's more rogue than fool. So this one bad. If to be a rogue is not the greatest of all follies, man, him full attack, you know, man. He arose to notice while I was in the administration and became, of course, a proper subject of inquiry for me. The inquiry was made with diligence, and its declared object was the reformation of his red brethren. You hear what kind of brethren? Red brethren. And people then red. And their return to their pristine manner of living. So the man's plight was for his people to go back to the old ways. Sound familiar? He continues. He pretended to be in constant communication with the Great Spirit. So he said, this prophet here tell the people, them say, he must communicate with that Great Spirit. That he was instructed by him to make known to the Indians that they were created by him, distinct from the whites, of different natures for different purposes, and placed under different circumstances, adapted to their natures and destinies, that they must return from all the ways of the whites and go back to the habits and opinions of their forefathers. How it sound? They must not eat flesh of hogs. They must not make bread of wheat, but of Indian corn. They must not wear linen nor woolen, but dress like their fathers in the skins and furs of wild animals. They must not drink ardent spirits. This is what he must say, you know. But we're going to look at what history said, because he can't say anything. Remember, said them are liar and thief and wicked from a long time. And him close him letter. Look what the internet have to say about the Wabash prophet. Died in 1834, Argentine, Kansas, US. Was a North American Indian religious revivalist of the Shawnee people who worked with his brother Tecumseh to create a pan-tribal confederacy to resist US encroachment in the Northwest Territory. Them want to thief the people them land, and him said, not in my cabinet. The prophet's declaration in 1805 that he had a message from the master of life. Who is the master of life, sir? Okay. Followed by his accurate prediction of a solar eclipse in 1806, caused a great stir among the tribes. He advocated a return to distinctively indigenous ways, the primitive ways, pastor, that them say. That is old covenant. The man said, go back to it. Ways of life, and he rejected colonial customs such as the use of alcohol, clothing made of textiles rather than animal skins and furs, the concept of individual ownership of property, And he rejected also the intermarriage with those of European descent. Do not mix and mingle with dirty bungle. Sound familiar? The prophet engaged his followers by describing the supernatural contacts he instigated through incantations and dreams. Witch burning was a feature of his program. So if him find a witch in a place, him burn that. Sound familiar? In November 1811, while Tekumesh was away, the prophet allowed the Shawnees to be drawn into military action with General William Henry Harrison. Their ensuing defeat on the Tippecanoe River thoroughly discredited the prophet and destroyed the pan-tribal confederacy. So eventually him lose out. Which is what they do to all of them. Martin Luther King, Marcus Garvey, all of them. They get rid of them after a while. President Thomas Jefferson and Harrison tried to pressure the tribes into adopting Euro-American customs, especially European-style farming, and they hoped that such acculturation would make the tribes more willing to cede additional land, to give up land. Them a tribe make deal with the people them to make them more suggestive when them tell them, say, make we use the land here. That is how them catch you. That's why you don't mix and mingle. He encourages people to follow traditional gender roles, Pastor. The man said the woman, they must do woman things. And man must do man things. Don't follow these European people. He proved to be a harsh, even brutal in his treatment of those who opposed him and his teaching. So if you're not following me, say, man, beat it. He accused his detractors and anyone who associated with settlers of witchcraft, including Indians who had converted to Christianity. So if you convert to Christianity, he call you a witch, which indeed you are. For 10 squatter hours, so I'm naming 10 squatter hour. Indian witches remain the most active agents of the evil spirits on the earth. And he sought to identify and destroy every last one of them. In 1805, 10 squatter hour evolved into an effective speaker and charismatic leader, and his religious movement formed a new community with his followers along the White River near the present site of Greenville in western Ohio. Harrison, the governor of Indiana Territory, derided 10 squatter hour as a fraud. And watch this now. Him call the man a fraud, you know. This is how they do, you know. When you're rising up and you realize that you have the people, they have to discredit your credibility. Once them discredit your reputation, you know, then you can call into question everything else. So them just need to catch you in one area. So here with them try with him now. He wrote a letter to Delawares urging them to challenge 10 squatter hour to cause the sun to stand still. Where them get this from? If the man say him is a prophet, which prophet, what kind of prophet? Which nation the prophet come from who make the sun stand still? Israel. So them say to him, say, the only way we can believe that you're a true prophet is if you make the sun stand still or if you cause the dead to rise from them grave. Now, Israel prophet raised people from dead, brethren? Okay. Adding that if he does these things, you may then believe that he has been sent by God. He also had a letter printed in a major newspaper. But 10 squatter hour come like Elijah. He say, you know, tell me what to do. He responded by correctly predicting that an eclipse would occur on June 16, 1806. And this prediction strengthened his credibility and humiliated Harrison. So him say, you know, tell me if he make sun stand still and raise dead. One eclipse will come June. Worry about that. So that is the Wabash prophet. So they continue in their letters now. So I'm telling him who the Wabash prophet is. I just show you who he is. Me tell you who him same is, and then I show you who he really was. They continue. So Adam's now replying to Thomas now in May now, 2 months later again. Dear sir, in one of your letters you mentioned, watch this now, the confused traditions of Indian antiquities. So he's asking now because this one is a bit curious, you know. John Adams, him curious, you know. You realize that Thomas Jefferson is the aggressor in this relationship. Him are the one who wear the pants. And him call the shots. So him tell the other one what to think. You know you have them people there. So John Adams is more suggestive. And he wants to learn. But this man here tell him what to believe. So the man got him and said, all right. You Keep telling me that the Indians are confused. So is there any book that pretends to give an account of those traditions? Or how can one acquire any idea of them? Say, point me to a book where we can read. Have there any order of priesthood among them? Like the Druids, bards, or minstrels of the Celtic nations? If I had not lived through the War of 1745, the War of 1755, and the War of 1775, I believe I should be now too anxious for a determined philosopher on account of the state of the nation. But in all dangers and in all vicissitudes, I believe I shall never cease, as I have never ceased to be your friend. So I'm asking for your book. This is the response by Thomas Jefferson, June 11. You ask if there is any book that pretends to give any account of the traditions of the Indians, or how can one acquire any idea of them? Some scanty accounts of their traditions, but fuller of their customs and characters, are given us by most of the early travelers among them. These you know chiefly French, Lafitte among them, and Adair, James Adair. Remember me tell you about James Adair who write the book and him get popular now? See how the story come to bomb now. Adair, an Englishman, have written on this subject the former 2 volumes, the latter one in all 4. Watch this. Adair too had his kink. He believed all the Indians of America to be descended from the Jews. The same laws, usages, rites, ceremonies, the same sacrifices, priests, prophets, fasts, festivals, almost the same religion, and that they all spoke Hebrew. For although he writes particular of the southern Indians only, the Catawbas, the Creeks, the Cherokees, the Chickasaws, and Choctaws, with whom alone he was personally acquainted, yet he generalizes whatever he found among them. So in other words, he's trying to discredit the man's book. Him saying no make no sense to read a book there because him spend a time amongst one set of the Indians. And but him generalize and say this go for all the Indians. And he brings himself to believe that the 100 languages of America, differing fundamentally everyone from every other, as much as Greek from Gothic, have yet all one common prototype, which is Hebrew. He was a trader, a man of learning, a self-taught Hebraist, a strong religionist, and of as sound a mind as Don Quixote, in whatever did not touch his religious chivalry. His book contains a great deal of real instruction on its subject, only requiring the reader to be constantly on his guard against the wonderful obliquities of his theory. So you must say when you're reading book, you have to be on your guard. You ask further now, if the Indians have any order of priesthood among them. Remember the man asked him that? Like the Druids, bards, or minstrels of the Celtic nation? Adair alone determined to see what he wished to see in every object. Metamorphoses their conjurers into an order of priests, and describes their sorcerers, their sorceries, as if they were the great religious ceremonies of the nation. So he's saying that them not no order. And where them claim to be their religious ceremonies is actually sorcery. But he's one to talk. And you know, come from the culture, so when you see them are going to do, you're going to say sorcery. Just like we over here, we kill goat for Passover. What them say we do? We are sacrifice, and we don't have no priest and all of them. So a man on the outside will say anything, no so it go. Yeah. In the solemn ceremonies of the Indians, the person, watch this now. I say you know him, don't know him attack, you know. The persons who direct or officiate are the chiefs. No say it's supposed to go, brethren. No say going to Israel. But he's using this as an argument that they don't have any order. No make no sense. Elders and warriors. In civil ceremonies or in those of war, it is the head of the cabin. No say go. In their private or particular feasts or ceremonies, and sometimes the matrons, as in their current feast. And even here, Adair might have kept up his parallel without ennobling his conjurers. For the ancient patriarchs, hear him now, like the Noahs, the Abrahams, the Isaacs, the Jacobs, and even after the consecration of Aaron, the Samuels and Elijahs, and we may say further, everyone for himself offered sacrifices on the altars. Lie! Lies! Only the priest. Now say go. No, that we see throughout the Bible. But this is one of them people that we read New Testament and say Old Testament that way. The true line of distinction seems to be that solemn ceremonies, whether public or private, addressed to the Great Spirit, are conducted by the worthies of the nation. That's how it's supposed to go. The leader conduct these things. While conjurers are resorted to only for the invocation of evil spirits. The present state of the several Indian tribes without any public order of priest is proof sufficient that they never had such an order. Their steady habits, watch this now, their steady habits permit no innovation. This sound like Israel or what Israel should have been. Because it's what me say, and you leave it at that. You do not turn to the left nor to the right. You do not add or take away. That means that you do not innovate. Mankind and them wicked invention match up the world. So they are saying that these people are steady. They don't change anything that they do. And so it permits that they will not innovate. So that's why they call them primitive. But this is Israel. Not even those which the progress adds such an order, which the progress of science offers to increase the comfort. So they must say not even them wouldn't even get one mattress so they can sleep good when night come. They will not enlarge the understanding and improve the morality of mankind. Where part you see morality of mankind being improved all these years that we've been living? All these centuries. You see morality improve? You know, see people get worse and worse wicked to each other. Okay. Indeed, so little idea have they of a regular order of priests that they mistake ours for their conjurers and call them by that name. So much in answer to your enquiries concerning Indians, are people with whom in very early part of my life I was very familiar and acquired impressions of attachment and commiseration for them, which have never been obliterated. So in other words, he's saying that all things aside, these are people that I was amongst while I was growing up, and I respect them. Yours truly, Thomas Jefferson. Real politician. So we go back to the book now, the Bible. Let us look at Baruch's letter. Baruch wrote a letter. 2nd Baruch 77. I, Baruch, went thence and came to the people and assembled them together from the greatest to the least and said unto them, hear you, children of Israel, Shema Yasharel. Behold how many you are who remain of the 12 tribes. They must say, look how a little bit from where we are come from. Nevertheless, as you said unto me, I will write also unto your brothers in Babylon, and I will send by means of men. Watch this now. And I will write so to your brothers in Babylon, being the in Daniel time thereabout, him say, I will send men with the letters, because them can walk, them can ride on horse, because it's just land divide them, right? But watch this now. I will write in like manner to the 9.5 tribes. And how am I going to send this one now? By means of a bird. And it came to pass on the 21st day in the 8th month that I, Baruch, came and sat down under the oak, under the shadow of the branches, and no man was with me, but I was alone. And so I wrote these 2 books, these 2 letters. One I sent by an eagle to the 9.5 tribes, and the other I sent by means of 3 men. So eagle have to carry the message that is supposed to go to the 9.5 tribes. Far. No land distance this. Eagle have to go across what? Water. And I called the eagle, and I warned the eagle, and I spoke unto the eagle, and I said, the Most High has made you that you should be higher than all birds. Prove it to me now. Because me I send you upon a big mission. Go now and tarry not in any place. Don't stop, him say. Nor enter a nest, nor settle upon any tree till you have passed over the breadth, the width of the many waters of the river Perath, and have gone to the people that dwell there, and cast down to them this letter. Remember moreover, Mr. Eagle, sir, that at the time of the deluge, the flood, that Noah received from a dove the fruit of the olive when he sent it forth from the ark. Yea, also the Arabites ministered to Elijah, bearing him food as they had been commanded. So birds have been influential in my culture, Mr. Eagle, sir. This mission is for you. Do not fail me. Solomon also, in the time of his kingdom, wheresoever he wished to send or seek for anything, commanded a bird to go there. And it obeyed him as he commanded it. And now, let it not weary you. Don't get tired, Mr. Eagle, sir. Thank you. Do not turn to the right and or to the left, Mr. Eagle, sir, but fly and go by a direct way that you may guard the command of the Most High, according as I said unto you. And I was going to take this part out, but I said, let me read it so you can understand why we're going through all of this. Chapter 78. These are the words of the letter which Baruch sent to the 9.5 tribes which were across the river Perath, in which these things were written. Thus says Baruch, the son of Neriah, to the brethren carried into captivity. Mercy and peace. I bear in mind, my brothers, the love of him who created us, who loved us from old and never hated us, but above all educated us. And truly I know that, behold, all we, the 12 tribes, are bound by one bond, inasmuch as we are born from one Father. Wherefore, I have been more careful to leave you the words of this letter before I die, that you may be comforted regarding the evils which have come upon you, and that you may be grieved also regarding the evil which has befallen your brothers, and again also that you may justify his judgment which he has decreed against you, that you should be carried away captives. Watch this now. Because to this day, that which you have suffered is disproportionate to what you have done. You know what that means? The punishment not fit the crime. The punishment greater than the crime that you commit. When I read it, I turn to Natasha and I say, you know, think God can do no. Think about it. Israel sinned from when Wapi killed Philip, and to this day we still get punished. You think that's what the man make when him said the punishment is disproportionate? But him going to tell you why. In order that at the last time you may be found worthy of your fathers, Abraham. So you get a worse punishment, and the punishment disproportionate to the crime, because me have to make sure so this time you don't go against me. Now to the meat of the matter. The book that Master Columbus was reading. What they don't tell you is that in 4 Ezra chapter 13, we are given a clue as to where the 9.5 tribes were brought. And I am here to tell you today that Columbus must have read this, because he was in the book and he was dealing with prophecy. It came to pass after 7 days, I dreamed a dream by night, Ezra says. And remember, you know, this is the same Ezra who wrote Ezra and Nehemiah. And it was good enough to put into the 66 book canon. But 3rd Ezra and 4th Ezra is not good enough, and it's the same man write the book. Lo, there arose a wind from the sea, that it moved all the waves thereof. And I beheld, and lo, that a man waxed strong with the thousands of heaven. And when he turned his countenance to look, all the things trembled that were seen under him. Afterward in the dream, in verse 12, I saw the man come down from the mountain and call unto him another peaceable multitude. After I burn up everybody, you can read it for yourself. And there came many people unto him, whereof some were glad, some were sorry, and some of them were bound, and others some brought of them that were offered. Then I was sick through great fear, and I awoke from my sleep and said, you have showed your servant these wonders from the beginning, and have counted me worthy that you should receive my prayer. Show me now the interpretation of this dream, because the dream troubled me. And he answered unto me and said, this is the interpretation of the vision that I shall show you, and I will open unto you the thing that you have required. And he started to tell him what the vision means. And watch in verse 39 now. Whereas you saw that he gathered another piece of a multitude unto him. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hoshea the king, whom Shalmaneser the king of Assyria led away captive. Isn't that what we read in 2 Kings? And he carried them over the waters, and so they came into another land. Watch this now. But the people, after they were brought by Shalmaneser over the river into another land, the people took it up now upon themselves, took counsel, and they said that they would leave the multitude of the heathen being the Gentiles, the Assyrians whom they found themselves captive amongst. We are going to leave here and we are going to go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt. Mankind was in Africa, right? Mankind was in Asia, right? Mankind was in Europe, right? So the only place that they could have sought to have gone where never mankind dwell is where? The West. But wait, it's not done yet. That they might there guard their statutes, which they never kept in their own land. So in other words, the writer is saying, I know you want to guard it. And they entered into Perath, the river, by the narrow places of the river. You hear them say by the narrow places, so them find one narrow path where them can cross. Your Clifton said nobody cannot cross it. Israel cross it. Watch it. You have to can manage the water. It's only so you go over. Or if you're around to help them. It continues. Watch this now. For the Most High then showed signs for them, and he held still the flood till they were passed over. For through that country, so the country where them reach now, watch this now, you know. Pay attention. Through that country, there was still a great way to go, about a year and a half journey. When you check from Damascus to Russia, Moscow, Russia, Damascus is Syria. Syria where they would have been taken from. To walk from Damascus, Syria, to Moscow, Russia is 250 days. 150 days, sorry, that is not even half a year. So for Israel to walk a year and a half, them go further than Russia. Watch this. The place where they went, the same region is called Arzareth. The book of Esdras tells you that. Wait, stick your pin. Then dwelt they there until when is Israel dwelling there? The latter time. That means that them still dead till when? No. And now when they shall begin to come, the Most High shall stay the springs of the stream again, and he will make them pass through the way. Conclusion. Arzareth. What is Arzareth? Arzareth means another land in Hebrew. It is a region beyond the Euphrates River to which the Assyrians supposedly took the 10 tribes after the destruction of the northern kingdom, and from which it was expected that they would return in the last days. This is wrong, because we saw that after they left Assyria, they said that they are going to go to Arzareth, right? That's what we saw in the book, so this is incorrect. But it means another land anyways. Look at Deuteronomy 29. And we know that Deuteronomy 29 dealing with curse. The curse continues. Verse 26. And they went and they served other mighty ones. They bowed themselves to them, mighty ones that they did not know and that he had not given to them. This is a prophecy, right? Therefore, the displeasure of Yahweh burned against this land to bring on it every curse that is written in this book. And Yahweh uprooted them from their land in displeasure and in wrath and in great rage, and he cast them into Arzareth, as it is today. What is Arzareth? Look at the Jewish encyclopedia. The name of the land beyond the great river, far away from the habitation of man, in which the 10 tribes of Israel will dwell, observing the laws of Moses until the time of the restoration, according to 4 Esdras. Columbus identified America with this land. Where Columbus named Arzareth? America. This is the land to which the 10 tribes were deported It is described as another land lying a year and a half's journey beyond the river, that is the Euphrates. It probably answers to the Hebrew Eretz Akereth from Deuteronomy 29:28. In Josephus' time, the great historian, Jewish historian, the people were still believed to be there in countless numbers. Yahuwah told Abraham that I will make your descendants as numerous as the sand on the seashore. And that promise still stands to this day. Watch this. Look at map. Because even this is a hoax. Israel now. Watch me with the mouse now and make YouTube see what is happening. This is Israel here. My people. I'm going to show you something, but what we learned last week that these people travel, no so. Nomadic people from before even Abraham born, them a walk up and down. Israel was taken from here by Assyria. And they were brought here. They decided that we're not staying here. We are going to a land where never man dwelt. And so Israel walked up into Russia. What is that? Israel walked up into Russia. Up into Russia. What do you see here? Bering Sea. Bering Sea, it says Bering Sea. And we heard about the Bering Strait, right? But according to this map, there's no way you can go here and end up here, no sir? Hey! What lies have we been taught? Look at the real map of the world now. This is UNICEF, you know. Look at UNICEF map. You see that? As soon as you show it properly, you know, you just wait. This is them map coming down the years, coming down the years. All of a sudden now it's turning into a globe. You realize it's turning into a globe now, a ball? You realize? So all along here it is flat, you know. You realize? You know answer me no man? You know realize the thing flat. Flat, flat, turning into a globe now, turning into a globe. This is the map. That is UNICEF. Look at it good. Flat map. So show you what go on. You wait. This is United Nations flag. Flat map. United Nations. This is World Health Organization flat map with the serpent. Flat map. Look at it properly now. Watch this now. Pay attention. This is Africa. Right? This is Africa. This is the Middle East. So Israel walk, go up. This is Europe. Come up into Russia. Look at it, look at it. Come up into Russia, come up into Russia. Right at the Bering Sea. Come over into America. Next map I show you say how over saw them there. When Russia and America are neighbors. What? Yes. This is South America. Brazil and Belize and all, and this over here says Australia. Way up here, so. Flat map. So when them sail, and them tell you that them end up on the other side of the world is because them sail go round. Man sail go round. Not a ball. Lies you've been taught. See there? Countless maps I can show you. Same thing. I can show you it even better from this. Here is Africa. Israel walk, come up into Russia, come right around, and them just cross the Bering Strait and come down into Alaska, into Canada, into America, into Mexico, and them come down right into this part here, Panama, all of these places, come down into South America, find themselves in Brazil, Ecuador, Peru, all of these places. Look at it. See it here? Them show you this now and them tell us that this is how the world look from the North Pole. I want to know who go up there go take a picture. But North Pole. Flat world. See it here? You're gonna believe me. See Moscow here. Moscow is the capital of Russia. This is America. See Los Angeles, Chicago, New York. So Israel just come round in Russia, come round in Russia, come round in Russia, come round in Russia. Boom! Right here. And this place here dry up. I'm going to show you. This place here dry up at some point. And then them come cross. Bam. Down in America. So this map here would never ever make you believe that Israel could reach America from here without boat. No, sir. Or you would believe that no nation could reach the West without boat, right? Yeah. Because of the map that you were shown. Wicked. Wicked. So look at the Bering Strait coming down nicely. The Bering Strait is a strait between the Pacific and the Arctic Oceans. Not me say go research the thing yourself, brethren. Separating, watch this now. The Bering Strait separates the Chukchi Peninsula of the Russian Far East from the seaward peninsula of Alaska. Alaska is US, brethren. The Bering Strait has been the subject of the scientific theory that humans migrated from Asia to North America across a land bridge known as Beringia. So when the Bering Strait dry up, the land that appears is known as Beringia. And if you know anything about them places they cowl. And when the water dry up, man just walk across my ice bridge. Bering, I beer see them across all these days, Pastor. So when you hear and they tell you about the second Exodus and crossing the sea, them thing them talk about. And you say Yahuwah stop the water. When the lower ocean levels, as a result of glaciers locking up vast amounts of water, exposed a wide stretch of the seafloor, both at the present strait and in the shallow sea north and south of it. This view of how Paleo Indians entered America has been the dominant one for several decades and continues to be the most accepted one. Numerous successful crosses without the use of a boat have also been recorded since at least the early 20th century. So a man can go around this bridge. A man can't tell us that this is impossible. But yet still they're still saying that this is a theory. It's a theory, a theory. As if we have done nothing that ancient people have not done. See it there? See the Bering Strait here? See that? See Russia here over this side? Come to Russia and you just cross right here so when it dry up. Cross and come over into Alaska. Gone down in the US. See it here on the other side, same thing again. This is how it looks when it dries up. Especially this one down here. All these yellow parts, exposed land when it dries up. Man, just walk across that easy, brethren. Easy, easy. So I am telling you today, you decide if you want to believe it, fact or fiction or coincidence or whatever you want to call it. Next week I'm going to show you the other evidences now that the American Indians, the Tainos that they found in Jamaica, the Arawaks, all of these people, the Apaches and all of them, whatever you want to call it, Israelites. Israelites, the 9.5 tribes. So I am telling you today that they made that journey, a 1.5 year journey, and they crossed Beringia and come over into America. You decide what you want to believe. And that's not the only place they went, because we see Yahuwah say he's going to scatter them where? Everywhere. So some go China, some go India, some go all about. You ever hear about some people called the Mongolians? Some black people from some Asian country and them eyes squinted and all of that? Israelites. Everywhere in the world, not only Americas. I'm just showing you how those persons came. I'm not saying that we are them, because I know how we reach here, and I'm going to show you that. I'm just showing you that they are a part of it as well. So anyways, in conclusion, Amos 9, before you go and blame the white man again, remember in the book of Amos, Yahuwah said, if they dig into Sheol, from there my hand does take them. And if they climb up to the heavens, from there I bring them down. If they hide themselves on the top of Carmel, from there I shall search and I will take them. And if they hide from before my eyes at the bottom of the sea, I shall command the serpent Leviathan, and it shall bite them. And if you go into captivity before your enemies, from there I will command the sword, and it shall kill them. And I shall set my eyes on them for evil and not for good. And remember, my brothers and sisters, while we're doing this, Israel's sin was a lack of knowledge. You not knowing who you are is as a result of a lack of knowledge. These things are being revealed to you, and now that you are learning, it must enact change in your behavior. See it here? Hosea 4 verse 6, let not the preaching be in vain. My people have perished for a lack of knowledge, because you have rejected knowledge. You don't like to read. You don't like to research. I have rejected you from being priest from before me. Since you have forgotten my instructions, I also forget your children. So the reason why we are forgotten and lost, as they say, is because we have forgotten the instructions that was given to us. So when we're coming back now, we want to remove this curse. We want to seek out knowledge, find it and grab it and hold on to it, so Yahuwah can remember us and remember our children. And in closing, I'll show you why I entitled the series The Conspiracy Against Israel, because set on apart, aside from the fact that we are culpable in our own destruction, others play part as well. And we see it here in Psalm 83. David see it long time. When we read these things, we feel as if David is talking about himself. The prophet see it long time. Watch it, Psalm 83. O Elohim, do not remain silent. Do not be speechless. Do not be still, O El. For look, your enemies make an uproar, and those that hate you have lifted up their head. They craftily, watch this, they craftily plot against your people. So now that you're trying to find out who you are, them say, no, history not go so. You know what them say about the Bering Strait? Millions of years it used to dry up. Who did I live millions of years ago if you know if Bering Strait used to dry up? Who was living? How them know that? As we read a while ago, say up to the 20th century people crossed that without boat. So they have craftily plotted against your people. And see it here? They have conspired against your treasured ones. They have said, watch this, and this is what they are trying to do. Come and let us wipe them out as a nation. And let the name of Yisra'el be remembered no more. For they have conspired together with one heart. The entire world come together. The only time you can get the world together, working together, is when they're going against Israel. Remember me tell you that. They have made a covenant against you. They have signed treaties against Israel. Look at it. The tents of Edom has come against you. The Ishmaelites have come against you. The Moabites have come against you. The Hagarites, the Gebal, Ammon, Amalek, Philistia, Tyre, Assyria, the children of Lot, everybody joined force against Israel. Because we got to wipe them out as a nation. Do to them as Midian, the prophet ends, as to Sisera, as to Yabin, at the Wadi Kishore. My brothers and sisters, the conspiracy against Israel is real.
Thank you, Brother Wade, for doing your research and come to speak to us. It was eye-opening for me, and I hope and trust each and every one learn something. And we must be like the Berean brothers. Go and search for ourselves and read the scriptures. With that being said, we will sing hymn 227, Faith of Our Fathers. And after the singing of this hymn, we'll ask Deacon Morris to close in prayer.
O great eternal Father, we thank you for this day, a day that you have set apart and hallowed from creation. Father, we thank you for us being obedient in coming in your presence to receive your teachings, to get our eyes open, and that we, oh Father, will be able to continue on this journey, this new vision. Help us, Father, that we will not depart from this. We will also go and do our own research that will further our journey, Father. We'll be more prepared that on the day of reaping, we will be ready. And you, Father, will take us back to our homeland, place where was promised to us from the beginning. Father, we thank you for the message that you have sent, and we thank you for the messenger. We ask, Father, that you will strengthen him. Allow him, Father, not to fail on his journey, but to be zealous in doing the research to deliver to your children and to prepare us all for the kingdom. Bless us all. And for those who join us on the World Wide Web, may you bless their hearing. Allow them to have a receptive heart to your word, Father. And also come to the understanding that they are all your children and they too will be prepared. Father, as we come to the end of this day's worship. May you be with us through the coming week. Keep us safe from all harm and danger. Allow us to appear in your presence for more teaching that will help us and prepare us. We ask your blessing upon us as we go to our separate homes. Be with us and allow us to be one and to greet our fellow brothers as we go along and encourage them. We ask your blessings upon us all through your son Yeshua Namashua. Amen.
We now invite our pastor to do the announcement and the blessing.
Okay, thank you, Deacon Morgan. And I want to thank Brother Greed again for another week of history. Real history, you know. Our history, you know, people say that story come to bump. So it come to bump. And we look forward to hearing more of the story. Indeed, the enemy was extremely strategic in turning Israel away from or God, you know. And I can't. And I sat there. I was imagining, you know, hence the reason why Christianity was introduced to the West. So to turn it totally from the Torah and from the Word, from the truth. So give us Christianity and start church and all these things. But tourists coming to bump, brethren, and we look forward to the other Sabbaths that he representing as we look at our history, and as we find our way back to the ancient part. We will not watch what people have to say, but we have to keep our eyes straight. We won't look to the right or to the left. We can straight ahead, so that because we have an aim and an objective to go back to the ancient part. Please stand where you are as we dismiss. Thank you for coming out. Thank you for those who have joined us on YouTube. We trust that you will re-listen, re-watch, invite other persons to listen to watch the presentations as we identify Israel. Indeed, Israel is like the sand of the sea, like the stars scattered all over the world, and we want to identify them so that we can prepare ourselves to go back to the land when the time comes. Yahuwah blesses you and keeps you. Yahuwah makes his face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yahuwah lift his countenance upon you and give you his peace. You are dismissed.